What up guys, Alex here. I thought I might make a quick video highlighting a major set of accomplishments or goals that I've succeeded in lately. These have been things I've been chasing down for many years as far as a hobby purpose or what keeps me tooling in the shop, what keeps me busy with these cars in general. Aside from the cars looking pretty sharp, pretty clean, I think I've reached a point of where I feel mechanically the cars are done, and I'll put a little asterisk there. So, these cars are really never done, but I think I'm pretty satisfied, and for the time being I don't foresee any bit of major mechanical work that I'm going to be doing to these cars anytime soon. But let's get right into it and talk about some of the work I've completed and what these goals are. So obviously this is my 86 300ZX Bob Sharp IMSA Widebody. And again, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, this is a genuine body kit. It's not a real IMSA car like Paul Newman or Jim Fitzgerald did not race this car. It's what you call a press car or a public relations car. This is what they took to car shows or dealerships to give you a look and feel like, hey, this is what the car looks like, a race car, what it looks like, and what do you guys think, that sort of thing back in the 80s. So, but the body kit's real. I got Bob Sharp to recently sign off on it and give me a letter of authenticity, which is amazing. That's awesome. And of course he autographed it and all that good stuff. So really happy with how the car turned out. It's looking good, it's looking sharp. But yeah, this is the 86, fully restored, and it features a twin turbo VK56 V8 twin turbo, fully forged built, everything, and I'll pop the hood here in a minute. Transmission's a Tremec Magnum F, which is the shortest version, dimensionally shortest, not necessarily gears, but transmission is the only transmission I feel comfortable putting a decent amount of horsepower through, coming from a V8. But anyways, there's another video I'll put in the comment section for the breakdown of this car, but that's, I guess, it for the high level conversation here. But elephant in the room, dyno graph here. The car recently made 1,244 wheel horsepower and 1,021 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. That's at the wheels. That dyno graph looks pretty great. What you see here is you got the horsepower and the torque almost riding in parallel all the way up, and then the torque kind of breaks off and starts going down lower, which is normal. This was at 28 pounds of boost, which are precision 64 6.6s, and that's the ceramic. I'm sorry, not ceramic, but billet wheel, dual ball bearing. It's phenomenal turbo. Set of turbos, I suppose. But yeah, this is it, guys. This is where I was hoping for in terms of power. I was hoping for about 1100 plus, and I finally made it. Now, previous dynos, if you're curious, I made roughly 1,000 horsepower, and every time I hit the dyno, I had a problem. Mostly the problem I experienced was the tires were breaking loose, and it wasn't able to actually plant the tires onto the dyno, the rollers. And I finally was able to do so. We have some better Toyo R888Rs, and on this dyno pole, yes, I increased the boost from roughly 20 pounds up to 28, and play with some timing a bit more. But I should mention that was on the 85. I think on a gas tune, I should be estimating around 1100. I just went into the dyno with a tank of E85 and just went for it. This car, like I said in the previous video, it is on flex fuel with Mega Squirt, so you can do that sort of thing. So this car, I've hit my goal, and it's exactly where I want it to be. The power is phenomenal. It has traction control through Mega Squirt, which I'm still playing around with. It does work, but it's just something I need to continuously dial in. But very, very happy with how this car has been a project and where it's gotten as far as completion and the power delivery and all that fun stuff. It's definitely a head turner, and a lot of people are just blown away by the fact this car is street legal. And I can tell you, just cruising around in the Tennessee area and just pulling up to a red light or going to a gas station, the amount of people like, what in the world is that? It's just a cool experience. I'm so happy and grateful to have this car. But let's now talk about the 89 here. This is my 89 turbo, and it has a VG33. Again, we'll pop the hood here in a minute, but it's fully built. It's been built very similar between this car. Matter of fact, they both had the exact same transmission, the exact same differential, the exact same subframe, which is 240SX rear subframe. So the drivetrain are identical between these two cars, literally identical, but obviously the motor is the difference. So this car, I made another major milestone accomplishment here in this car, and let's just get straight to it. On this car, at 41 pounds of boost, I made 838 wheel horsepower and 798 foot-pounds of torque. That's, I think, unheard of, being in a VG single overhead cam. And I was able to drive home from that dyno. I didn't trailer, I just drove it there and had my fun with the dyno and drove it home. And then yes, that was on the 85. Normally when I cruise around this car, I think my low boost setting's at 25 pounds and my high is like 30, 31. I might bump it up to like 35 just to have some fun with it. But, and I'm able to do that through Megasquirt, have a different profile for boost, and through MS Droid, being able to change that on the fly while I'm driving. But this car has been my first car when I was 16. I bought it when I was 16 for $2,500. It's been through a lot. At one point I was embarrassed to say this, but now it's like laughable. I'm able to joke alongside it. But this car has had 16 motors. 16 different VGs in there. And, like I said, at one point it was embarrassing to talk about that as if I was not knowing what I was doing. And the truth is I wasn't. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how an engine worked. I didn't know what would happen if you turn the boost up without throwing more fuel to it. So it was a learning experience. And I'm proud to say that, after blowing up several motors, that I began to have a firm understanding of how these VGs work and how boost force induction work, turbos and whatnot. It's just, at what point do you learn, right? You learn from trial and error. It's a very common methodology to learn from. And it just so happened that, I did it on this car. Thankfully, VGs are pretty cheap. Not all the bad motors were my bad, not my fault. Some of them were just bad to begin with. Like, I remember when I got on that craze about ordering the JDM motors off eBay, and I got two of them, one after another. They had rod knock or piston slap, and they were just DOA to begin with. And then I got one from a junkyard, and when you buy them from a junkyard, you don't really know if there's any problems inside until you get it home. And sure enough, there were definitely a couple I had bought from a junkyard that were bad. So it's, like I said, it's a learning experience. Nothing to be ashamed of if you're learning like me, or how I did learn back in those days. It is what it is. But I'm confident now in the work that I do for VGs and the Z. People want me to work on their cars. People ship me their Zs across the country, and I get them running. I get them up in reliable conditions, and people, I've been told after getting a car that I've worked on, that they're able to drive across the country on road trips or what have you, no problem. So that's something I'm very proud to say. And if you're interested in having me touch your Z and get it up to snuff and get things reliable, shoot me a message, let me know what I can do for you. But at this point, like I said, I'm able to take a car like this, a VG, fully build it, put 41 pounds of boost through it, and drive it home from a dyno experience, making 838 wheel horsepower. I mean, that's crazy to think about, and I'm proud of that. I can say that with full confidence and not have anyone scoff at me. And if you want to scoff, that's fine. But this is this is my accomplishments, my goals I sought after, and I did it. So mechanically, this car's done. I'm not going to do anything more. The last thing I wanted to do was revise the intake. And again, I'll pop the hood here in a minute. And I did that. I think there's some refinement that I can do, like better route the intercooler piping. The car definitely needs a new paint job yet again. The last guy I had paint it did an absolute piss poor job. And he just took my money and ran with it. And at the point where I was seeing the car and in the steps that it was being done, I knew like this guy was not going to be able to paint my car well. So I just had to get my car back before more damage was done. So if you look like right here, I mean, that is some of the worst prep I've ever seen. He painted on my T-top seals. You can see, where was it? There was some hooks in the paint from his buffing pad, but he just did a really bad job. So I need to get this car repainted. It's straight, the body panels are good, but it's definitely like a 15-footer car. I'd like it to be like a 2 to 5 foot car in terms of paint quality, but money and time will get there. But overall, guys, this has been an amazing journey with these two cars. I'm not sure if I mentioned in a previous video, but I did end up selling my 50th anniversary edition and my Shiro Special, just because I didn't drive those cars. Those cars need to be driven, you know. They can't just sit there in storage and looking pretty and just be like a wall art, if you will. Like someone needs to enjoy the cars more than I was. So, you know, it was just a kind of a decision I made between my wife that these are my 2 Z cars and these are what people know me for. People who didn't know that I had a really clean, you know, 50th anniversary or showroom quality Shiro Special. It was just time to let them go. And that's okay. You don't need to have all the Z's to have fun. So for right now, these are my Z cars. This is what I love doing, and I've been driving the 89 pretty much every day that I've been having to go to work or you know, go run errands. My job right now requires that I travel to the office. I mostly work from home, but sometimes I need to go to the office, which I do, and I'll drive the 89. And then sometimes I have to go to a neighboring state to visit another facility for work, and I'll take the 89. I haven't taken the Widebody to work yet, mostly because I don't want to get in trouble for how loud this car is and, you know, any sort of attention I might get, but who knows, maybe I'll take it. And, you know, if you haven't noticed, my truck's not in here. It's at the dealership getting a squeak or rattle fixed. And I got my Xterra up there on the lift, the turbo Xterra. It's winter right now, and that's, you know, there's no doors, so it's not really a vehicle to drive when it's cold out. But right now, this is it, guys. This is my my Z collection. So let me pop the hood real quick and to quickly talk through the motor builds if you haven't seen any of the videos, and get the 2 engine bays side by side here for a quick comparison of what, you know, a VG33 looks like compared to a VK56 side by side. So that's gonna be cool. So hang on real quick. All right, got the hood up. The reason why I had to take a break from the video real quick was to get the hood up on the Widebody with the 4 hood pins and the hood prop. It's just not as easy to do that with one hand. But obviously with the 89, it's just the conventional pop the hood and let it lift up with the hood struts. But anyways, so this is my VG33. You know, a vastly different motor configuration than that VK over there. But as you can see, everything's here is fully built, modified. Nothing here is really original per se. You know, if you notice, there's no distributor. I have Mega Squirt on this, which is now fully sequential injection and fire, which is just light years ahead of the whole batch fire factory setup. Coil packs are the IGN-1A Super Smart coils, not to be confused with LS coils. Yes, they look like LS coils, but they're the IGN-1As. That intake, as I mentioned in a previous video, that's a custom intake I made. Internally, there's velocity stacks alternating at 45-degree angles. So there's not one runner or cylinder that gets priority of air delivery than another, meaning they all get equal opportunity for air to be delivered to the chamber, which means not one cylinder is going to get hotter than another cylinder. Usually on a VG, the furthest piston back, which is number 6 on the driver's side, will be hotter. And that's usually the piston that gets detonation. That's usually where if you blow a head gasket, it's back there. If you do something like this where the air delivery is equalized in performance, it's less chance of a piston getting hotter than the other. Now with the VG30DE and the Z32, you've noticed that plenum has dual throttle bodies, and it's, you know, you got the air distribution go over one side to the other, and they've noticed that problem and they've rectified it in such a way. There's even the VG30 and the Maxima single overhead cam that has an air distribution system set up to where there's a dual throttle body set up. It's like a single throttle body has dual butterfly valves inside of it, and the air gets delivered equally throughout the plenum. So it is a problem. So if you're able to rectify it by having air distributed equally down the runners, it solves it. So that's how I was able to do this. But yeah, this turbo setup is the Precision 6766 CEA billet dual ball bearing. Bigger turbo than what's on the VK, but obviously it's a single turbo. And then, you know, precision wastegate, precision blow-off valves. I got my custom-made equal length manifolds there. And it sounds amazing, you know. But otherwise, it's, you know, not much has changed over the course of this build. This motor, how long has this been in service? I think this has been running solidly since 2018, since my last block, which it was actually running fine. It's just the block cracked under excessive cylinder head pressure from the timing being too advanced for my previous tuner. That guy sucks. Don't ever go to the boost creep in Colorado. That guy's he's an idiot. But overall, you know, since having moved on to Mega Squirt, been doing tuning myself, and the block has been fine ever since. So, but like I said, fully built block here, VG33, forged pistons and rods. Even the crank is forged with a Z32 twin turbo crank, twin turbo oil pump, running all bottom end Z32 stuff. And that's what allowed me to easily go to the Tremec Magnum, because there's a dude out there, Merlin Machining, who makes an adapter, a bell housing adapter that allows you to go to the Tremec Magnum F, or in my case, the F. Any Tremec transmission will allow you to do that. I have a triple disc XD Hyper Series clutch, triple ceramic disc. It's a kind of like an on-off switch. It's really hard to drive, but when you get the hang of it, it gets, you know, you get comfortable around it. But like I said in the dyno graph showing that the highest boost I hit in this thing was 41 pounds, and that's just crazy. And the reason why, you know, beyond the insanity there, the reason why I said, you know what, let me see what this car can do at 41 pounds, is because I accidentally hit roughly 37, 38 pounds when I was, I had put that wastegate on, and I had accidentally forgot to hook that back vacuum line up. So it was like full wastegate pressure, which was like insane. It was maxed out. It could do whatever it wants. So it hit like 37, 38 pounds of boost, and everything was fine. I had to go to a 5-map sensor, 5.0 map AEM sensor, to be able to tune that high. But you know, after doing that and experiencing it, I hit 41 pounds of boost. And the reason why I have 41 is because I was targeting 40 and had a 1 pound spike. So, you know, it held together just fine. Yeah, there's a little bit of blow by from the pistons, you know, which is normal. So you can see the valve covers have a little bit of oil residue. Some people ask, why not run a catch can? And I truly want to, but where would I put a catch can? I mean, I guess I can maybe plant one over here somewhere, but the engine bay is so clustered as it is with all these AN lines and, you know, ignition wires or spark plug wires. I'll figure something out. But other worth noting here on this bay, while I got it lifted up here, is the fact I still have AC down there, utilizing the Z32 AC bracket, the compressor bracket. That AC compressor is the stock 89 bracket, or I'm sorry, it's stock 89 compressor with R12. So it blows really cold. But my only problem with this compressor as it is, it's kind of hard to see at this angle, especially through a camera, is that the positioning of the compressor, there is an offset of the belt configuration. Being that I'm running a Z32 crank, a Z32 ATI super damper, I should be running a Z32 AC compressor. Now, if I ever pull everything back out, you bet I'm going to switch to it. But right now, it's fine. I just have to tighten the belt down quite a bit, so the belt has no wiggle room to pop off the pulley. So it isn't aligned perfectly, but it's been on there for this way, I don't know, 15,000 miles, and it's hit so much boost at high RPM. I'm not concerned with it falling off. I just rather have it be perfect at a later point in time. So that being said, like I mentioned, has cold AC. If you look at the throttle body here, and this is an aftermarket Q45 billet throttle body that has the dual linkage there. I still have cruise control, and right now I'm running the 240SX cruise control actuator. And again, this is this cable right here. That's my cruise control cable. It goes around, and the cruise control actuator is actually mounted underneath my coil packs. Now, the Z31 non-turbos have a vacuum actuator. It sits about right here, and you know, it's about the size of my hand right here. It's huge. I wanted something smaller, so the 240SX and even the Z32 have a really like baseball size, really small baseball size actuator that's tiny, but it has an external vacuum source, a little external vacuum pump, and I have it mounted on the inside of the fender here against the wall, and it just turns on when I hit the cruise control activation. So, and it works. My only problem with it though is that it's kind of jerky. Like you'll have it set to like 60 miles an hour. Once it hits 60, it'll go, you know, 60, 61, 60, 61, and it just bounces. It's like fluttering. So I had to figure out how to fine tune the actuator, because you know, it's from a different car. It's expecting something else, but otherwise it works. But it's something I'll have to toy around with later. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, the car is pretty much done mechanically. It's been solid. It's been running great. You know, like I said, AC and cruise control, 838 wheel horsepower. That's nuts. And I've done this as an accomplishment with having equal length manifolds, with having everything that's tucked in this bay. It's just for me, it's a huge accomplishment. And I think it's bragging rights, just kind of rattling off here. But for me, it's like, hey, this is what you can do with a VG30, guys. This is what you can do with a car, with a factory motor-ish. Yes, it's a 33, but you get the idea. You can do whatever you want to do as far as horsepower and comfort and whatever. It just depends on how detailed and dedicated you are of getting that goal accomplished. So, goals matched right here, right? So you can do it, guys. Just set your goals and go after it. Get your plan, get all your ducks in a row and go after it. There's no reason to say, no, I can't have power steering. No, I can't have AC. That's the only way to make horsepower is to rip everything out. Nope. Guys, you can keep all the cool stuff in your car, power steering, cruise control, AC, whatever, and you can still have, coil packs. You can still have a big ass turbo and equal length manifolds. Just make sure you plan accordingly and knock it out. Don't cut yourself too short because, we're ripping stuff out. It's only going to be harder to put it back in if you want it back in, like AC. I see all the time people rip out AC because they think they're going to have weight loss. But it's like, is that 20 to 40 pounds really worth it, And then later you want it back and you have to go find it and buy it and hope for the best that it works. I don't know. If it works, just keep it in there. Make it work. Moving on. Now, this is a race car, right? So there is no AC. There is no cruise control. This is a little bit different story. So, yep, this is my VK56 twin turbo. I think the last video, I did not have this, what I call a K-bar or K-brace bar. I finally got one added, and I noticed after doing this, it did stiffen up the front quite a bit in rigidity for steering, which is amazing because it needed to get done. When I was jacking up the car one day at the front jack point here underneath the headlight, down below, I noticed that this portion was raising up significantly higher than that corner. And obviously with cutting that front bar, that brace, the factory bracing, yeah, you're going to have some tweaking going on. So I went ahead and made that K-bar, welded it in, and it's been great ever since. The last thing I need to do to this engine bay is fix this turbo offsetting. I didn't plan for it to be so close to the throttle body. I know in a previous video I did talk about it, but I want this one to end up like that guy. And if you ask, well, how come you haven't got it done yet? Well, it kind of sucks because you have to cut right there, possibly get new V-bands, weld it back. Everything has to come out. And then so you got one pipe right here, which is your exhaust down, your dump. And then you get your charge pipe down there. And then, the intercooler piping is not a big deal. You just cut it and shorten it. But you have a lot of things to accommodate, to adjust for. But everything has to come out. And it's just a lot of work. When the car runs good as it is, it's like, at what point does that become a priority? But I'll get it done just when I get around to it. But in terms of recent modifications, like I said, the K-bar, I did rip out the B14 Sentra booster, which was causing some brake biasing problems. I finally found a S14 non-ABS booster, which is the same in that car. And that fixed all my brake problems, which again contributed to why I wasn't able to hit a higher horse on the dyno. I failed to mention that earlier. The brakes were dragging on the dyno as well, causing a bit of performance issues. So I got that fixed. But otherwise, this thing's been solid. No problems whatsoever really. Other than like fuel delivery, I went through troubleshooting fuel problems like crazy. Had these two external MP4303, that's right, fuel pumps from Magna Fuel. Had nothing but problems, and finally went to a Walbro, the 525 Hellcats. I have 3 of those Walbros in this car. 2 are always on when driving, and then the last one, the third one, is on standby for when the fuel pressure drops. It'll kick on when needed. But car runs great, guys. Really happy with how it's driving. No issues. Steering's been fixed. And I had the reason why I say steering is fixed because it had like some caster issues, which was causing the car not to drive straight. It would always kind of pull to the right. And then when you would take a turn, it felt like there was so much slop in the steering. There was a lot of problems I had to kind of figure out and work out. But with any serious build, you're going to have kinks. You're going to have bugs you have to figure out how to fix them in such a custom build like this. But needless to say, guys, I mean, this has been a phenomenal journey of getting these cars where I want them to be. That's my cruiser with AC. This is my fun race car and spirited high horsepower car, I guess. One other thing I want to talk about real quick is people ask me a lot, like, hey, so you got these two high horsepower cars, do you ever track or race them? And the answer is kind of, but no, not really. When I say kind of, I do take them to like a HPDE, which stands for High Performance Driver Education, which is a non-competitive track day. You're just out there having fun with other cars similar to your class, and you're not trying to beat a fellow driver. You're not trying to get a better time. You're just out there having fun. And you got your car on the track. You're just testing out the suspension, testing out throttle response. You're just having fun. And that's about it. That's about as far as I'll go. I'm not necessarily a performance driver. Like, I like to think that I'm an awesome race car driver, but I'm not. I'm just a normal dude with high horsepower cars. And I like to drive them spiritedly and have fun with them. The last thing I want to do is to think about the possibility of being on a track in a performance or competition and throwing it into a wall or hitting another car and wiping out, and all my work, body-wise or mechanically wise, going to the wayside. And so, again, people ask, well, why do you work on these cars? Why do you put so much money or time or energy into making a high horsepower car? Well, it's like, this is my hobby. I could take up wood carving, ice sculpting, or cooking, or cabinetry, or whatever. Sometimes you just got to get crafty with your hands and make something. And this is my craftiness I like to do. I like to turn wrenches. I like to work on these cars. And for me, it's fun, making a car and having a higher performance and hitting some numbers on the dyno. And that's the thrills I like to get. No, I don't track them. I'll go on some spirited street driving when, I don't want to get a ticket or anything, so I don't do anything stupid, but that's about it, guys. And, I get flack about it. I get people making fun of me about, oh, you have these high horsepower cars and yet you don't race them. What's wrong with you? Well, frankly, it's really none of your business what I do with my cars. But if you want to know, that's not what I have interest in. I don't want to race them. I just like working with my tools, my hands, and making something out of nothing and talking about it, bragging about it. Sure, I can brag about it. It's my accomplishments. My goals are matched. And, that is what it is. But above all, for the reasons why, the ultimate reason of why, beyond, the financial loss or time loss of possibly wrecking or destroying this car, the Widebody, was something to keep my mind and keep myself as a person busy and occupied with while I was grieving and going through, and I'm still doing it today, of when I lost my son, right? I've talked about it in a previous video. We lost our firstborn child. It's been hard. It's still hard. I'm still challenged with it every day. It's even hard of talking about it right now. But this is the car that kept me from having my mind go through a lot of bad thought processes and keep my mind out of the gutter. It keeps my mind occupied. It keeps me thinking constructively versus destructively, right? So I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize this car, because when I built this car, when I finished it off, the last final touch I did was putting a plaque, in dedication to my son. So this is a monument to him. This is a tribute to him, so I can remember him when I drive. And I hate to say it, guys, but this is not any of your business of what I do with my cars, but this is what I did to keep myself from losing myself, right? And I still have to have that today. And it's important for me to have mental health, and this is what keeps me going, in terms of hobby. So when I'm in a bad place in my mind, I come out in the shop and I start, tinkering. I start fiddling with something, and it keeps me occupied. And the 89, for a similar foundation of why I won't race it, this is my first car when I was 16. This is my car. This defines me as a person with my car hobbies. But more importantly, going back to my son, this was the car that I took for him in a few drives, and he was able to share some moments with me in this car. And if you notice, there's a teddy bear back there, and that was his, and I keep it in the car at all times. And this is just something that it's important for me to have this car and remember him and have that teddy bear in with me at all points. It would be ashamed if I took this car and did something stupid and ended up against a wall or in a ditch or something. I've had this car since I was 16. That's like 23, 24 years, or however old I am. And it's just something that, I want to have, in my life forever. And, my other son, when he gets of age and And he can drive it if he wants, or when I get too old and I can't drive a car like this, and I can pass it down. But I don't want to risk throwing something away just because of some internet fad or peer pressure online, or some juvenile, immature response of me having to go out and track a car where I just simply don't want to. So anyway, I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, rattling, but if y'all want to have an understanding of why I build these cars, it's just to keep my mind busy, occupied, get some positive, construction process of building a vehicle and building a performance car. It keeps me busy, keeps me happy. So anyways, but like I said, these are, I'm very proud of these cars. I'm very proud of where they've taken me in life. When I was 16, 18, I would never have imagined I would have had a car like a VG making 800 plus horsepower, or a race car making over 1,000, making over 1,200 horsepower. This is crazy just talking about it, but here it is, and it's great. If any of you ever meet me, I'm a cool dude, family oriented, go to church, just a normal dude. But if you ever want to go for a ride in this car, any of these cars, just let me know. If you ever in Tennessee and you want to meet up, just send me a message. If I have the schedule to do so, and if I have the availability, yeah, I for sure will take you for a drive. Probably won't let you drive them for a lot of reasons, like I just mentioned, but mostly for insurance and liability reasons, probably won't. But if you guys ever want to, like if you're a Z31 enthusiast and you've never been in a wide body, well, let's make that happen. Let's go for a drive. So I hope to meet you all. I hope to have a good experience meeting new people, and at other car shows and not, but hit me up, guys. Let's have some fun, and then let's keep the ball rolling on this Nissan Z stuff. It's just a great platform. I'm really enthusiastic about it. But that's it for today, guys. Really happy with my accomplishments. I hope you guys are inspired by the work I do. If you have any questions, if you want me to work on your cars, just send me a message. Let's get something rolling. Let's get this done. But otherwise, guys, have a good rest of the day. Please like and subscribe as always. I hope to pump out more of these videos. It's just I'm not necessarily good at it, but I'm working on it. But until then, take care. Thank you.